Tim. I'm so happy to be here.
Hey, Chris.
I will, start off the introductions. Thank you so much for the graciousness for letting me go first. And my name is Christine Knight. I am IFS Institute trained in internal family systems level 1. I do this work full time. I have a master's degree in counseling, but I found IFS my last year of grad school, and it completely changed my trajectory in my future career, where I decided to not even get licensed through the state because I wanted to be able to work with anybody and everybody. And I wanted to focus all of my attention on parts work. I have a diploma in clinical hypnotherapy and had studied ego states therapy and parts therapy that ties in really well with internal family systems. And I also have a spiritual side where I am interlinking shadow work with IFS and parts work, helping people to get a firm foundation of where they are already, what their strengths are, what their foundation is through their astrological birth chart. So we have a direction going forward. And then the second step is we bring in IFS to do parts work and reconnect with those parts that got disconnected inside of us. And then the third step is applying that, living in alignment, slowing down, using other people, relationships as mirrors to reconnect with those disconnected parts inside. And then giving people the language, the specific language, and even role play and boundaries of how to stay living in alignment. And it started out, I was focusing on childhood trauma because that's where I came from. Had a very violent childhood, sexual abuse, domestic violence, poverty, and it was affecting my adult life so dramatically, where I excelled really well in some areas, like work and career, but I just could not get a footing forward in romantic relationships that kept coming up. So IFS has changed my life. I got the privilege of telling Dick Schwartz that personally, and I'm sure he hears it a lot, but No Bad Parts, that book changed my life. And I was already into clinical hypnotherapy and parts therapy and coaching and counseling when I found it. And it still changed my life.
Wow.
So that's why when people ask me, because I'm trained in so many different modalities, like I'm a Reiki master, but I've studied neuroscience. So when people ask me, if you had to say one technique that you would say, just go all in on this and no other techniques, it would be internal family systems. It would be IFS, hands down.
So cool. Well, That's great to, hear some of your story, and we can talk more. And by the way, if people are watching my channel, we're putting this on both our channels. I'm not the interviewer here. We're just having a raw conversation. Christine and I, we've only met once, I think, virtually. We've never met in person. And we just thought, wow, it'd just be good to have a conversation about this model, how it's changed us. And so my journey, we were talking a little bit, and then we said, well, maybe we should hit record because we were having a pretty good conversation and just do this thing. But my background, so I found IFS, it was about 5 years ago, just after the pandemic. My background is not mental health. My wife is a licensed clinical social worker, and we've been married for 15 years. I was in a ministry position for about 20 years. And I joke and say in my life, orbiting the giant hairball. There's a book called that where institutions have kind of carried me on, but I never quite fit. And I orbit that hairball pretty well. And I did that for 20 years and so grateful for the ministry positions. And when I say ministry, folks maybe notice your parts that come up there, but I did. So I didn't go to mental health route. I went the seminary route and have a doctorate from a seminary. And I told you, Christine, that parts of me come up that want to devalue that. And so I let them both say, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've worked hard and I'm grateful for that and the journey that I've been on. And so graduated from seminary and was in ministry out in California. I grew up in South Carolina, spent 20 years in San Francisco, and that's an interesting dichotomy or polarization in itself in many ways. And I'm so glad that I lived it. But 20, just after the pandemic, I took a sabbatical for 6 months from my ministry position. During that time, picked up a life coaching certification. Finally, I think it took me about 6 times to pass that standardized test to become a board certified coach, but I passed it. My wife sent me an email where the IFS Institute was putting out a coaching for self leadership, just a course, 6 weeks or so. Took that, entered the lottery, got accepted to a level 1 training. Since pandemic therapy stuff went virtual, we were able to move from California here to Wisconsin, where my wife is from. Been here about 4 years and started my coaching practice. IFS has changed my life and has given me a place where I don't have to orbit the giant hairball anymore. I'm not a hairball. I don't know what I am, but I'm right at the core. And it's a good place to be. And I'm finding that people are looking for that spiritual type person that may have the background that I do, that can get it, can check judgments at the door or be aware of those judgments and say, we're all in this together doing the best we can. So, yeah, that's a little about me.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I'm almost kind of just curious with this intuitive like pull that I'm getting to, because we were going to talk more about parts and what they are
Yeah.
and how they apply to life. But what if we, like, I love real, raw, relatable, like, let's get in and talk about what people are struggling with, especially in the area, maybe since this came up, this being our first talk in um, past, man, I want to use the word programming, and it might be coming from that hypnotherapy background, but that environment of spiritual
Mm-hmm.
and religious, what's the difference? How can parts work be applied anywhere and everywhere? What's coming up for you? Is there anything in particular that's like, ooh,
Yeah. Well, as I told you before we started, I've got parts that come up that get really, yeah, kind of nervous, or when I'm assisting in a IFS training and I'm finding, first of all, I don't need to do as much explanation as I think I do. People trust me, but how do I be who I am? Man, I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for me, but being a white male that's progressive, but also has blind spots, that brings other mess that maybe we'll talk about another time. And that's not, you don't have to defend me. I mean, this is for me to shoulder. And I've got, it's time for me to sort it out and to figure out. But the spirituality piece is when I meet, like, how much do I tell? There's parts of me, here's where I have ADHD and took over for a minute. But there are parts of me that when I found IFS, I was close to walking away from my faith. That still, there's a lot that Jesus is at the core. And no one else has to believe that. You don't even have to be spiritual. If it's working for you doing IFS without that component, but people are talking a lot about the spirituality. And I'm just saying, there are parts of me that just wishes I would have gone down that slippery slope that people talk about, or maybe I'm on it and I'm loving it if I am, but still being who I am, not to push an agenda, but to say, this is who I am, this is the body that I have, and it's okay to be that. And some of it's just a reality, but how are we going to live in the world, and how do we do that? And so it's with kind of who I am in appearance and spirituality, and still, I mean, it's hard to this to come out, but I think I'm still Christian. I'm not evangelical, but it's it's a lot clustered there. Is that helpful at all? And you feel free to chime in and we can talk more.
yeah. You know, what's coming up for me is the labels. Is a lot of times we have such a hard time because of labels, but then sometimes it helps us get through all the convoluted stuff of complex, abstract subjects with those definitions. So it's kind of like this, like another dichotomy, with, I mean, this is a world of duality, reality of duality, and that the labeling can hold us back But then sometimes it helps us move forward with a more clear direction. So it's really interesting that I've gotten into discussions with the word Christianity even. Are you a Christian? And my answer is, well, how do you define that? Do I believe that Jesus was here, Yeshua, walked the earth and taught us profound lessons? Yes. Do I believe he studied in Tibet and the Middle East for 12 years? Yes. Traveling with his uncle. Do I follow everything he taught? Yeah. Like there's nothing that he taught that's written down, that we have access to that I don't agree with. But I also agree with what's written in the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of
Yeah.
Philip, the Gospel of Thomas. And I really love what he did, what he taught. And I went through a period too, Tim, which is interesting. After a really bad divorce, and I was like 33, 34, so almost 20 years ago now, where I was like, do I believe in marriage? Do I believe in religion? Do I believe in Christ? Do I believe in that he died for my sins and all I have to do is ask forgiveness from him and I get to go on the golden path to heaven? A lot of that was just self exploration and discovery and sitting with that contemplation, but in the core self, in self energy. Yeah, I think IFS just helps us so much to learn about what is self energy, which I use the term core essence. It's my
Yeah.
true core, what I came in with, that compassion, that curiosity, that confidence, that calmness. But then I also came in with, we call them legacy burdens in
Yes.
IFS through ancestry. And there are actually themes and wounds that I'm working with that I know came from ancestry and then were like enhanced
Yeah.
in this life.
Yeah. Did you want to share? I mean, I keep kind of talking and then I go on a diatribe, whatever, talking a lot whenever you ask me questions. You want to dig into some more of that for you a little more? Or you can ask me. I mean, I'm glad to share, but I want
Yeah,
to give you
either.
space to talk too. Yeah.
I appreciate the openness and the spaciousness, but I think I really love to hear your application of things in your story and
Yeah.
like right in the heat of it.
Well, I've got a
Please jump
story
in.
that,
That's
well,
incredible.
I have found, well, another thing that came up talking about the whole religion, spirituality, even Christianity. And I want people to know that we come from different, these aren't two Christians. I mean, some people wouldn't even call me a Christian still. And so we're very
Mhm.
different in many ways, but there's a lot of commonalities in general that I'm finding when I talk to people that it's kind of surprising to me. But so what came up for me though is sometimes too, like when I'm in these trainings and you have your 3 sentence introduction, is to just talk to, and I'll hear no judgment on people, but sometimes people are still evangelical Christian, and that's okay if they can just claim it and go. But then people will say, well, I'm a follower of Christ, or I'm a follower of Jesus, or that's not what I'm trying to do here, is to water down. Let's just name it. On one level, I'm Christian at the core, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat that. I don't know if I'll always be. We'll see where the slippery slope lands, and or whatever. But just the mystery of it. So when I say I'm a Jesus person, it's not me trying to figure out some way to say it to one person and then claim it for myself another way. It's just I'm in the mystery, and so that comes up for me. And with the legacy burdens too, I grew up in Appalachia. My mom was illiterate, poor, white, and that doesn't mean that I'm not privileged, because I am. And so, not trying to equate that with one thing or the other, but I've got that little 7-year old inside of me that's a protector, protecting a 4-year old that says, you don't, doesn't believe he belongs. And so that kind of comes, I'm bringing that into these trainings with these very educated people, even though I'm finding more and more we're on the same level. But that little guy's inside of me, and trying to let him know that it's okay. There's a lot of legacy there too.
Yeah. Yeah, that belonging. It's my opinion, and I like to mix evidence-based science with spirituality, but this is more opinion that
Yeah.
it's part of the human condition,
Yeah.
that needing to belong. And we know that we have that basic primal instinct. We're born into a human form from legacy ancestral lines. We know very young that if we get rejected and outside of the tribe or away from our caregivers, that we'll die.
Yeah.
So these young parts inside have this very valid and very strong fear. If I'm not accepted, I'll die.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, when I just even sit with that for a moment, I mean, my heart space just expands with this warmth. It's almost like a
Mhm.
longing of compassion
Yeah.
to hug them all, like just bring them
Yeah.
all in and hug them all, because the human condition is I mean, I think it's part of the journey. I think it's why we're here. I think
Yeah.
we're here to learn,
Yeah.
and we're here to learn through priority is relationship, personal relationship.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it begins with our primary caregivers.
For sure. And it runs deep. And I tell you, I still, the numbing in my own, I mean, I've married up, as they say in the South, but yeah, parts of me still, yeah, who am I and where do I belong? And I'm figuring that out. And I'm finding clients too. Like, and that's where there's a niche for, yeah, people, yeah, just that belonging to find their purpose and not trying to promote Rick Warren here, but there's something to that. Like there's a purpose that we live for. And so, does
That's
that
one of the
land? Do you know
reasons
what I
I'm so
mean when I say
proud.
Rick Warren, or is that foreign?
I don't know who Rick Warren is. No,
Yeah, well, that's a
that's foreign.
big, that book was popular, I don't know, 10 years ago called The Purpose Driven Life. He's the pastor of a big mega church in Southern California. And there are parts of me too, when I hear that, like I just want to throw it all, like baby out with the bathwater. And I'm
Yeah,
finding too that when I read it, like, no, like there are parts of me that just cringe at that book because of the
yeah,
baggage, but there's a lot of truth and too. And we don't have to throw it all out. And it's okay to pick and choose.
yes, yes. That's why I'm so big on alignment from my core essence, from my self energy. But to get to that place where I was able to even discern my alignment, I had to do IFS. I had to do the work. I had to be working. I worked with an IFS practitioner for probably about 9 months straight. Monday at 11, Monday at 11. My parts were even Monday at 11.
Every
They would
week.
come up on
Yeah.
Friday. We want a drink. Jack
Yeah.
Daniels was their drink. We want a drink. And I was like, and they didn't trust me. They
Yeah.
didn't trust me yet. Which, with working with clients, that's the beginning of the process, is making the introduction, revealing the parts, but then gaining their trust enough to unblend a little bit to even get that
Yeah.
self energy in there, that core essence in there, and then start building that trust. And then they trust so much that they will relax back and
Yeah.
allow you to be in core essence long enough
Right.
to then have discernment of what
Yeah.
aligns and what doesn't align.
Well, I love, yeah, just the idea of IFS has changed both of our lives. And you had mentioned working with that therapist 9 months and kind of finding IFS. If you want to share more, I'd love to hear more of your journey and kind of how that practically
Yeah.
came together and how it was.
Well, I'll say a few things because it really, every technique that I used, I've been the client. I've been on the client side. So I know what it's like. So I like to tell people I had an IFS practitioner. She wasn't a therapist. She didn't have a master's degree. She was excellent, excellent
Mm,
trained, could sit in self energy. That's the most important thing in doing IFS work. Your practitioner has to be able to sit in self energy and hold space, because the best parts detectors are parts.
right.
And our clients' parts can be like, you have a timekeeper part. I had a client that said, you have a timekeeper part. And I was like, and I had not yet named it in my system. I was like, thank you so much. I do have a timekeeper part. It knows this took 3 weeks, this took 9 months, this took, and I just adore it. And I worked with a practitioner and everything was online. So I think it works better online when the person is in their own private space where they feel safe, they feel private, they know nobody's around or can listen through the office walls or anything like that, because it creates safety in the body, in the nervous system, and then therefore in the subconscious mind. And that's really where we're going in this work, is what we hold underneath the surface.
Good.
It's not in the conscious mind. That's why I tell people a lot of this stuff won't make sense. Don't try to figure it out, because it's actually in the subconscious mind. That's your autopilot that's trying to keep you surviving and moving forward in life.
That's good.
And then protectors, that's how I love protectors so much. Like I tell people, they had an original role to play in your system, and they laid it down. They sacrificed themselves and their original role to take on this extreme job to get you to the next moment, to survive to the next moment. And it could have been big T trauma, little T trauma, just emotional overwhelm, just not understanding.
Yeah.
And they said, I'll do it. I have the characteristics in me that I know I can do this job.
Yeah.
And they take over. But in the subconscious, it's head down, plow through for the protector parts. And they never get the chance to pick their head up and look and see, oh, time has gone by. Oh, she's 35 years old now.
Yeah.
She's 50 years old now.
Right.
No, they're just like, do the job, do the job, do the job. And we come along with that help of that practitioner holding space with us, and we go, hey, I see you there. It's okay. Come forward and talk with me. But we have to build.
And it just takes a
Trust.
little bit of that. That's where that unblending comes in. And I like to let clients and myself know too that those thinking parts and those timekeeper parts, they're not bad, but it's good to recognize them and those parts that just hate them and want them to go away. Sometimes
Yes.
the work is under the work, like where we need to begin, and just knowing that. And we're never going to be in self. We just need to be self-led just a little bit. Or, it only takes a drop, and it's about living in relationship with those parts. Yeah.
Inside.
Yeah.
And then outside.
Yes.
Right? Because everybody is our mirror. And what we see in the other person is what creates the trigger, or as we call it, the trailhead. I'm really pissed off right now.
Yeah.
That's one of my number one things is anger. And I'm still working with anger. It's part of my astrology. It's part of my lessons here. It's part of my ancestry. I have Native American, I have Cherokee. Okay. Speaking of Appalachia, or
right there,
Appalachia, or however. So that 9 months of working with that practitioner, I want to say, Tim, I think it took. I'd have to go back because we recorded all the videos, and I want to release them, especially the legacy unburdening, because there's a really neat story with that. I have it on video, and it was about, I don't know, where's my timekeeper part? I need you. That's right. It was somewhere around 9 months to a year later, where I just happened by chance to be at one of those old forts, like the old army forts.
Yep.
And the tour guide was telling me the story, and I was almost falling over because he was telling me the story that my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother had come through in the legacy unburdening and told me.
Wow.
And I was like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Where was that? Like your Cherokee, like where is that from? Down south or
North Carolina?
Okay. Yeah.
North Carolina.
Cherokee. Okay.
And my grandmother spoke Cherokee and could not read or write English.
Okay.
And only put my dad in school because it was, I think, 1948 when the mandate came that all American children had to go to school. And if you didn't send your kids to school, they would come take them out of your house.
Okay.
And put them in other foster care or whatever.
We came from the same, the Cherokee have been there. I came from somewhere else.
Mountains.
Yeah, right there where I mean, I've got pictures and not trying to make this about me. I want to go back, but yeah, standing with the Native American, taking pictures as a little boy.
Wow.
And man, there's so much
Wow.
appropriation there now, but that's
Yeah.
just coming to my mind
Yeah.
too
Yeah. I
there.
love it. Yeah. I love it's so, I love all the synchronicities that are really happening all the time. It's just when we're healed enough emotionally inside and in our inner system to begin seeing the synchronicities that show
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, instead of just saying I'm done, I'm going to stick with my tribe, or I'm not going to claim that I'm still racist a little bit. Like those are parts, and
Yes.
it's valid and doesn't make it right, but we can talk if we're in a healed enough.
Right.
Not that I'm here to make anyone talk, but there's something about that synchronicity. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And name it and claim it as it shows up,
Yeah.
but I mean, so I was going back to my timekeeper part. I mean, I think it was 2 months where it was actually a very strong manager, like an oversight director that
Yeah.
ran my entire inner system that was directing the sessions. And it was like 2 months in when it's a masculine energy. I have a lot of inner parts that are masculine energy
Okay.
because I was raised to be basically like a man.
Yeah.
I had a very strict, violent father who would like scream at you like nose to nose and
Yeah.
dare you to flinch, like so like I have very masculine energy parts inside.
Yeah.
And this part was the oversight director, and he finally gained enough trust. So it took that long. It took a couple months for him to gain enough trust of my IFS practitioner and of my own sliver of curiosity that was coming through to relax back.
Right.
And when he did, it was like the angels were singing and it was hallelujah, and the clouds were, it's amazing that a lot of times we use that metaphor in IFS, the
Yeah.
clouds
Mm-hmm.
part and you see the sunshine, you see the light.
Yeah.
And when he relaxed back and he saw the light, he was like,
Yeah.
I thought I was you. He thought he was me, and he's not.
Yeah. He doesn't have
Now
to work so hard. Yeah.
he don't even work now.
Yeah. I love it.
He's on Follyfield Beach, South Carolina in he wears one piece of clothing now. And when he showed up, it was so amazing. My inner system is very visual. And he showed up with the horn rim glasses, the short grease back. He looked like Marty McFly with the pocket protector
Yeah.
and everything from Back to the Future. And now he's in swim trunks hanging out on the beach at Follyfield Beach, South Carolina on Hilton Head Island, because that's where I did a lot of my work. I
Yeah.
was still living in Hilton Head.
Okay.
So he's like, I actually have to call him now and be like, hey, can you come to work for a minute? I got to
Yeah.
do this email campaign and this website.
Can you help me out? Because
The other
this is,
part.
yeah, and this is something I learned this week too. There, I was interviewing Ashley Booth she'll be on my podcast next week. And by the way, you can self promote. We're in this together here, and
Absolutely. That's what I
to
tell everybody
share.
too.
But she wrote a book called "Quieting the Storm Within." And interviewed her about that. But she came up with, she said she struggled with managers, firefighters. And I had talked about how we're just in relationship with our parts. And she came up with the idea of, though, even when our parts or our system's not burdened, we still have those proactive helpers and reactive helpers. And this guy sounds like such a, well, I don't know. He doesn't have to have a label, by the way, but it helps me to know that we still need our helpers, and they have proactive and reactive energies that make us who we are.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it's the human parts. So the way that I've understood my system is there's human parts, lower 3 chakras
Mm-hmm.
in the energy centers.
Yeah.
And then there's more divine parts,
Okay.
higher self parts, self energy parts, let's say,
Yeah.
upper 3 chakras. But that's the lower 3, that's where we hold the competitiveness, the comparison, the need for belonging, the fear, the defense mechanisms and all of that. So that was years ago. I did my own work while I was going through training and finishing my degree and then taking on clients. As you like I tell my clients, I still walk the walk. I don't just talk the talk. Like it's daily. I do a parts check-in every morning. I do a walking meditation. I check with the parts first. Anybody needs to say anything, alert me to anything, you're questioning anything, you're worried about anything. Okay. Now relax back and let me walk in that core essence, because that's when I connect.
Yeah.
Some people call it prayer, some people call it meditation. I call it divine connection, where I'm connecting with higher consciousness. Some people call it God, some people call it source, higher self, all these words, universe. And I say, your will be done. I'm here to serve you. Flow through my hands and touch. What do you want me to touch today? What do you want me to speak today? What do you want me to feel like emotionally today? Because I want that spirit self to actually feel the human condition.
Yeah.
Good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah. Love that. So it took you about 2 months in your process, that trust, and we're always building trust.
That's only one part, 2
Yeah,
months.
that's one. So tell me more if you want. Yeah.
My system, I had so much trauma in my life, and I had the bright idea, being in the human condition, and it being basically kind of in my astrological chart also, that I would keep trying to have romantic relationships to try to heal my inner system. The savior's out there. The guy is gonna save me. The guy is gonna help me. If I just get married, I can be, a better person, or I can live how he wants me to live. So then I can deny these other parts of myself. So I kept doing it over and over and over. And it cost me a lot of time. It cost me a lot of money. I didn't do the marriage game like some people, where they, they'll marry and then get divorced and actually have, financial advancement from it.
Right.
I was the
That
opposite.
wasn't you.
Knocked me down. Like I would have bankruptcy, and I got my kid out of it. But it's just, this is something fascinating too, and I'm kind of just nudged to say this. It took me a while. It took me healing, like that 9 months of working with the inner system, to the point where I was able to do the process on my own with my own self energy. That I got to the point where I actually held gratitude for all the trauma, for all the lessons, for all the experiences, for all the relationships, for the pain, for the hurt, because it brought me to where I am today, or where I was then. But it's that emotional healing that got me there. I couldn't, they say forgive. Your problem is you just don't forgive. And here's some science for you. Epigenetics has proven you can actually extend your telomeres on your DNA and reverse aging and be very healthy with 2 things: forgiveness and gratitude. So I couldn't forgive. I was like, I'm going to forgive. I'm going to pray and ask help to forgive. I couldn't do it. I couldn't let go and release. I couldn't even be in my body until I did the emotional healing through IFS.
Yeah.
That's why it changes your life. Like it changes your life. It changes your health. It changes your body. It changes your relationships.
Well, it opens up. I mean, I had one client who told me one time there's a country song, and parts of me want to say country music's not my thing, but actually it is. And I like it. I can deal with other things and work with other things too. But there's a song called, talking about, there's a part of me that wants holy water and a part that wants burning man.
Yeah.
And that dichotomy, or you see like the good and the bad angel. And
yeah,
what's
like
big
the
for
cartoons.
me, yeah,
Remember?
and the bad angel, quote unquote, is not bad. And sometimes they haven't had a voice. And for them to hear that and to have some attention, they're just as part of the team as the rest. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of joke around.
Go ahead.
It's part of me. It's part of me. Well, I was
The
kind of getting the
playfulness I
okay.
love. Yeah.
I
So
was
it's
getting
okay.
the okay because it's a joke about Jesus.
That's right. Well, it's welcome here. So
because
throw it out, or maybe you'll trigger me and then we'll have a session. So yeah.
I love what he taught, and
You're not going to trigger
taught
me. So
he taught parts work.
Yes.
He taught parts work when he was 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, and he said, "Get behind me, Satan."
Yeah.
That was parts work.
Yes. Yeah.
He was just doing parts work. And
Yeah.
the thing is that IFS is advanced. Remember, that was 2,000 years ago. We've advanced a lot in technology
For sure.
and in our systems and understanding and psychology since then, through a lot of wonderful people. Jesus was a wonderful person, but Carl Jung was a wonderful person. He did a lot of work in the subconscious. Unconscious is what he called it, with archetypes, which is parts.
Yeah.
So I joke around and say it wouldn't have taken him 40 days and 40 nights if he just would have made friends with the Satan, instead of saying, "Get behind me, Satan."
Yes.
If he would have said, "Come here, Satan, and tell me what you're really trying to tell me."
Yeah. That get thee behind me. And it could be like, I know Dick Schwartz in No Bad Parts, and I actually was able to meet him one time too, and he shared the same story, but he was going to a seminary in Mississippi, I believe, to lead a seminar or something in IFS, and he was anticipating the response to the idea that there are no bad parts. But he said, yeah, if you put burdens as sin, we're on the same page too. Like, and so those burdens, we were created good, if you want to use the Christian story, and there's not a conflict with it. And you could also reframe, not that we have to reframe, but that "get thee behind me, Satan" could just be burdens that we're carrying, or we can talk about unattached burdens and the demonic and the angelic sometime too. But it's just such a framework that it's solid, but you can mold it in different ways. And what you need, I mean, it's healing. Like that idea of there are no bad parts, and we don't have to get on our high horse and make a big deal about it. Like those burdens, they're just, yeah, if you want to call it sin that we've taken on, but there's hope. And that's where that hope merchanting is. And parts of me come in too. Am I spiritual bypassing? Here you go again. Like, no, it's true. There's
Mm-hmm.
hope, and we can
Mm-hmm.
be healed, and we are being healed, and we're not alone. We're in this together.
Well, I tried spiritual bypassing for about 10 years. I'm just
Yeah.
going to sit in
Didn't.
meditation and I'm just going to say, drift by, drift by. Now there's studies. Okay, here's the science.
I
There are
love it.
studies that meditation will rewire your nervous system
Yeah.
and, bring the left and right brains into cohesion, which we are doing in IFS. We're bringing the right brain online with the left brain, which is the logical reasoning
Yeah.
brain. And
I
the right
love
brain
it.
is more emotional and creative and, in tune with the undercurrents of life, right? I have ADHD too, because I just forgot what I was saying. I forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah.
But IFS can apply to so many different areas. I do shadow work
Yeah.
in work, or if there's coaching and we're doing astrological birth signs, and this is the life lesson, this is the overarching thing. It's the fear. That's where I was going. The burdens are the fear.
Yeah.
There's love, which is self energy, core essence, divine connection. And then there's fear,
Mm-hmm.
burdens, parts who have extreme jobs, who have taken those on to help us survive and get to the next moment. Unattached burdens, it's fears.
Yeah.
It all
For
comes
sure.
down to it. And if you look at every religion, isn't it saying go towards the love and go away from the fear?
Yeah. And that's another thing that I hesitate to say too, but because I like the church things, what I grew up with, it's okay. Yeah. Perfect love casts out all fear. But do we really believe that? And it permeates. And that's why I like, for self, like, I'm a beloved human being, and we're
Yeah.
enough, and yeah, we're loved, and we got to learn to love ourselves too. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the purpose of it all.
Yeah.
The purpose of being here. I was mad. Like
Mm-hmm.
I said, anger is my thing. I was mad that I was put down here. Like pissed. Like, you want to talk about cussing out spirit guides and angels and God and Jesus, and I was like, "Ugh,"
Yeah.
mad for a few decades.
Yeah.
IFS is what healed that.
It changed. Yeah.
It healed those parts. Yeah.
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 So cool.
It just fits into so many areas of life.
Yeah. Really does. Really does. And yeah, so cool to connect with someone else too.
And I was raised in a really strict religion too. I would call it a cult. It was, Old Testament based, and they taught a little bit of the New Testament, stuff, but most of it was like the Hebrew holy days and, laws and
Yeah.
expectations and clean and unclean meats and even that.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, I was raised on that.
And was that some type of Christian thing?
It
Or
was. They claimed to be Christian based, but really it was Old Testament based.
got it. Yeah. And where was that?
It
If you
well,
yeah.
it was called Worldwide Church of God, and
Okay.
it was across the entire planet, but there were just different congregations in different areas.
Got it.
And they would rent buildings instead of having like church buildings. They would rent like halls, banquet halls, or something like that. And then,
And your dad, is it okay if I ask a couple questions or?
yeah, hey, I'm an open book because you know what? Like you said, we're all in this together, and we all have our groups, and we all have our different background things that actually are gifts to
Yeah.
help other people. Where somebody can be watching this right now and be like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think anybody knew about that church. I was raised in that church." And
Right.
yeah,
And your dad was a primary influence in that, or
yeah, he found
yeah.
it, and he was always searching. He passed away a few years ago, and we've never had a better relationship when he was alive as now.
I get
But
that
he
too. And
really
there are parts of me
tried.
chuckled, but yeah, go ahead.
He really tried. He was always searching. He was searching for healing, for emotional healing and religion, and where's the answer and who's going to help me. And that's what I mean. Like, we have the technology now. We have the internet. We have online sessions. We have IFS, and our parents and their parents and their parents and their parents and
Yeah.
didn't have that.
Yeah. That, well, when you mention the idea, and sometimes when people, this is something else, when I'm introducing myself to someone in the IFS community, when they hear my church background, they think, or some people think maybe I'm okay with the woo woo, but actually IFS has helped me be more okay with the woo woo. I come from this Baptist church and it's not charismatic. Southern Baptist, there's parts of me that hates to
I was
say that.
First 12 years I was raised Southern. My dad was Southern Baptist.
Okay, yeah. But I tell people though, but yeah, like that doesn't mean I'm good with woo woo. And I don't mean to make light of woo woo, but that's my playful parts. It's helpful and maybe it's helpful for others. But when you talk about your dad, I was checking in with my parts one morning, and I'd love to hear more about your parts check in too, for me
Yeah.
and for others. But I was
Yeah.
checking in one morning and I asked this AI over here, I don't want to say her name because she's going to start talking,
Uh-huh.
to play a certain song. And I was thinking one song and another song came on, and it was about kind of father's love and Bill Staines. I like folk music like that. But another song came on, and I was thinking, I'm just going to just imagine. And my intention was like, God's love is, and God doesn't have to be a father, by the way, but sometimes God is, and that works too. But I was saying, all right, I'm going to listen to this song and see how my parts respond. Well, instead of that, my dad showed up in his highest self. And this is all in my mind. Like, I don't know, and maybe not. And who cares if it's in our mind? I want to let people, but
And your third eye mine.
he showed
Oh,
up. There
yeah.
you go. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he showed up and it blew me away in his highest self, and that love that I had intended to come from God or something higher. It was my dad.
Mm.
And that had never happened before. And it threw me for a marvelous loop. It was a good thing.
Mm.
But when you said, and I don't want to be too blunt, but it is much easier to relate to my dad in his highest self that he's dead now. God rest his soul. But that was a beautiful moment and powerful.
Yeah.
So it was one of those parts check in that went different
Yeah.
than I expected, but it was a good thing
Yeah.
for sure.
What a gift. What a
Yeah,
gift. Yeah. Wow. Oh, it's just such good stuff like
it
this.
is.
There was a time when I hated this life. I hated being here. I hated being human. And I hated this life. And now I'm like, this is so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's
And I want to say, too, if people are listening and they're like, who are these two crazy people? Like, those parts are welcome, too, that say, wait a minute, what is this a cult? Because I've got those parts, and it's not, but
mm,
they're valid. Those parts that question, they matter too. And so,
Yeah, they're just trying
yeah,
to keep us safe.
that's right. That's right. Well, I'd love to hear
Really?
more about your parts check-in and how you do that.
Well, get this. So I'm doing this work with my practitioner, and I had been attempting to meditate for like 10 years. Okay. And I was spiritual bypassing, no positive thinking, nothing negative. And I would, lose my crap sometimes, but you know what? Okay. That's the human side. I was pretty deep in spiritual bypassing, trying to survive, right? I was just trying to survive. My parts were just trying to do the best they could. And I eventually got to the point where I was meditating in the morning, and I would just meditate for a few minutes and just try to just notice the thoughts and let them pass by, and maybe, 15, 20 minutes while the parts showed up. The parts that had been showing up in session, who trusted my practitioner, showed up. And they were basically like a schoolroom full of 30 kids all trying to talk at the same time. And I was like, okay, like first I tried to be like, go away, I'm meditating. They wouldn't. Go away, I'm meditating. All right, if y'all are going to be here, everybody get in a line, determine your line, and I will listen to you one at a time, one at a time. It took about 45 minutes for me to listen to what they wanted to tell me. Like they were just there to give me a message, and I was listening to the message and even understanding what they were saying. That was it. 45 minutes. And I was like, okay, the line is done. Everybody done. Okay. I'm running late now. I'm going to
A
go out of the meditation.
timekeeper again that's helping, that helper
Yeah.
there.
See
Yeah.
there?
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't want to label your parts, but it could, yeah.
This one likes to be recognized because I
Yeah.
have a hard time recognizing him. So, I come out of the meditation and I'm like, oh my goodness, is this what inner peace feels like? I had inner peace. I had inner quiet. And that's the last time I meditated in that
Wow.
way. Now it's parts check-in where I put a hand on my heart because a visual sign for me and connecting with my body helps me to open that heart space, which brings that sliver of self energy in, or that, wide open self energy, depending on what's going on. I put my hand on my heart, and sometimes I'm sitting, sometimes I'm walking. I'm already doing my walking meditation, but I check in first. Anybody have anything? And this is if I make it past. Like a lot of times I wake up in the morning and they're already from a dream. Go put the dream in ChatGPT. Like I have this dream thing that I'm creating as a Carl Jung archetypal based dream interpretation thing I'm creating on chat. And I just check in. Anybody want me to know anything? And I just wait. See right now I have this part right behind my left shoulder that says, "You're doing a good job."
Yes. Yeah. That's great.
And it used to be my inner critic. So yeah, so I appreciate that. And she has feminine energy in her. Like that's how detailed this gets. And so here's my heart is beating fast. So I say, okay, what part is making my heart beat fast? And it's a nervous part that gets worried if we're sharing too much. You know what I mean? It's beating my heart really fast. So I know that it's there. That's a signal. So parts will use signals, songs, overlapping loops in your mind, trying to get your attention. So I've just learned to determine what is the signal that goes back to what part that wants my attention in that moment. And I just connect with it. And I just ask everybody who needs attention, and then they relax back. And then I continue. Okay, now I'm going to open my heart space and I'm going to do divine connection, because I want to invite the divine in to flow through me to have the human experience. And in that, I'll get a little bit deeper here, but I'm envisioning left and right brain coherence, brain and heart coherence, heart and mind gut coherence with the vagus nerve down the spine. So I ground, I go up to the crown chakra, and then I'm complete.
Wow.
When I had parts check in the morning, I noticed a big difference when I listened to them first before any triggering happened during the day, because they were already seen and heard and had a presence in my inner system before anything would happen during the day. And then I would have a much more calm day. And if there was a trigger, I would be like, oh, my heart's beating fast. What part is that? So it wasn't a full, it was the easier bridge of the process to where self energy is driving the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And the part comes and taps on self energy's shoulder. It doesn't knock me out of the driver's seat and take over driving the bus.
Yeah.
Which has still happens sometimes. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Still happens.
That's, yeah, for all
But
of
not
us.
as often.
Yeah. It preps, like, yeah, you're kind of it kind of preps the day
It's
with
prepped.
that awareness. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I had triggers so bad through my life that I couldn't watch regular TV because commercials would come on and something in the commercial could trigger a spiral that had me looped 2 hours, 2 weeks, 2 months.
Yeah.
Looped. I had to control what I said, what I did, who I was around, what they did, control them. And I'm telling you, 95% of my triggers within the 9 months of working with my IFS practitioner, they didn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
Because we had gotten to that core healing of the emotional wounds being held by those exile parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
We healed the wounds. When we healed the wounds, we healed the protectors, and then the trigger didn't need to be, acted on anymore.
Yeah. When those wounds are healed, those protectors can let go and they can just be the kids they never were.
I even bring them back to their original role or to a new role that they choose.
Yeah. Right.
And I have them name it and claim it, babe. Name it and claim it, because that's your new role. And thank you so much for your service.
Yeah. And we need them. It is. Yeah. That's so
Yes.
cool. I'm curious too, and then we can begin to wrap up for this one, I guess. But when you were you were triggered, but it wasn't necessarily negative at the fort with that story that your ancestor brought back.
You want that story?
Yeah, I would love triggered. And that wasn't Fort Sumter by chance, was it? Was it another?
It was Fort Dobbs.
Okay,
in North Carolina.
Okay.
And I never heard of it. It was just synchronicity that we were there. I was with my ex and his parents. We were staying at a bed and breakfast there with his parents near the area, and they just pulled it up and said, "Oh, we have a free afternoon where we're looking for something to do. Let's just go there." Like it was synchronicity.
It just happened. Yeah. But
it just happened.
Divine, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, let's close with that. Divine. I'd love to hear more of that. Hear that story.
It's a crazy story. It's a crazy story. And I'm so glad I have it on video.
Yeah.
And I have the date on video with my practitioner that I was working with the trailhead of hating men and being afraid of men. And I was, of course, raised that way, relationships through life just piled on that trauma scar tissue on that wound. And that's what the trailhead was that we were working with. And when we went to the part and it said that it was really old, that's one of the indications that, we're dealing with a legacy burden here. And it went back to the great, 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 great grandmother that told me the story. Like I can still see her. Like she still comes and visits me now. I love her. It's Cherokee Nation, old, wrinkly, short. She was short. And she told me the story that we were friends. Our tribe was friends with the British troops. Now, here's a side note that's really funny is as long as I can remember, I hate the British accent. I can't stand it. One of my business coaches is in the UK, and it's like nails on a chalkboard. Can't stand the British accent. Can't stand their humor. Can't stand being around them.
Right.
Never knew why. But when we were little and just learning to talk, my siblings and me had a British accent when we were young. So back to the story with ancestor grandmother saying we were friends with these British troops. And they attacked us. Like, it's all their fault. They attacked us, and they came in and burned down the tribe, like burned everything down, attacked the women, raped the women, but it was just a very violent ordeal where they just wiped them out, and they won. I mean, the British won. They were taken by surprise and wiped the tribe out, and that's why we hate Brits. So I was like, oh, no wonder I don't like the British accent, right? So she showed me these visuals and stuff of it. I saw the troops and the horses and the tribe and all that stuff. So we heal that burden, that legacy burden, and it's like a year later, we by chance go visit Fort Dobbs. The tour guide starts telling the story that they built the fort because they were friends with the Cherokee. Now I'm going by memory here, but they were friends with the Cherokee people, and they actually were teaching each other different things. And two of the Cherokee tribe went with the British troops to go north to another military base camp as what's it called? Representatives, right? Well, on the way back, they were going through the woods, and other British troops thought that they were enemy Native American tribe, and they killed them. They killed the two. So whenever news got back to the Cherokee people that two of their people were killed, they believed in retaliation, an eye for an eye. And they said, we want two of your troops sent to us, and we're going to kill them. The British people said, are you nuts? We're not going to give you two of our troops. We're not going to give you anybody to go over there and kill. And the Cherokee said, no, eye for an eye. This is retaliation. This is how we bring about justice. And let's just side note again, I and my kid has high tendency for immediate retaliation. It's ancestral. It's in the DNA, and we're working with it. So anyway, as the tour guide is telling the story, I'm like, my jaw is like, I'm getting the other side of the story. Grandmother told me her side, and they were victims, and they were just attacked. But here's the other side of the story from the British troops. The Cherokee, because the British troops wouldn't give them the two guys to kill, the Cherokee attacked the British camp. Not devastating, just give us two or we're going to do it worse next time. So that's when the British troops came in and violently wiped them out. But the tour guide at Fort Dobbs was telling us the story, and that's why they built the fort, because they knew that the Cherokee people were going to attack them, and and that they had been friends before that. So I knew the piece of the story, and I told this tour guide, this is the piece of the story that I have, that they were friends and helping each other, and they sent two. And he knew the part of the story that two of the Cherokee had been sent up and had been killed on their way back down to North Carolina.
That's crazy.
So we intersected our stories from two different ends. And I was like, thank God I have this on video, because you would never believe me if I didn't have it on video. But
that is so cool.
You want to talk about synchronicity, and this is not made up. This stuff is literally not made up.
And when we can have some of our own healing, when those moments happen, we can have these types of conversations. It's beautiful. And it doesn't really always have to be beautiful.
That point, I appreciate that point, because that's when I learned at Fort Dobbs, North Carolina, that's when I learned, this retaliation that I have in my blood is not justified. Because before then, I had this self-righteous part. This is the justice part. We have a right to do this. We were victims. There's two sides to every story. So it helped me then be able to start seeking to explore those wounds, that retaliation and that resentment and that anger.
Thanks for sharing that. Amazing. I was curious. To that
it's
story.
Amazing one.
So, well, we'll do this again soon. And
this was so great.
We'll get something on the calendar. and have coffee together again and share it with the world. And
Yeah,
we will.
yeah. I feel like I talked way more than you did this time, so it has to be
Well,
your
we'll
turn next
figure it
time.
out. I mean, I love to talk about myself, and I'm sure I talked. I mean, I have the same parts, but we'll figure it out. But no, this was fun, and
Yeah,
let's do it again. And if you're watching and you've got questions, engage in the comments, subscribe to the channel. Christine and mine will post it on both. And yeah, we're in this together. We'll have
yeah.
coffee or whatever. Do you drink coffee or tea?
But I have it right here, and look, chaos coordinator.
There we go. So we can both, yeah,
This is self energy right there.
I'm a coffee guy. So yeah, we'll get together again
Yeah.
soon.
And what if people can even put questions or
Yeah,
things that they're wondering about in the comments, and then we can answer them directly, even
for sure.
from
Yeah, put them in,
from
comment,
both of our
and
points of view.
we can engage between, and we can bring it back to when we talk again. And anything else you want to throw out there before we wrap up?
I just really appreciate this space. I'm really actually not a big talker unless I'm really passionate about something. And the
Right.
work that this can do to heal people, to heal humanity, it all starts inside of each one of us.
Yeah. So cool. Well, thanks, Christine, and we'll meet again soon.